Number Theory, Section 1, Programming. Video 4, Writing Simple Programs. We started to look in the previous videos how we can put commands in Python together. We're now going to look at how we can use functions to write simple programs, which will give Python a lot more power for us and allow us to solve more complicated problems. So let's start with defining functions. A function is a set of commands which you can define once and then you can use it over and over again. We're going to start by looking at an example of a function, and then we're going to look what happens when we use it in the shell. So this is a function called squares7one, and the name here, squares7one, you can see I've used here where I've said def squares7one. Def means that I'm defining a function. And this function takes a parameter called n. So n is the number that I'm going to use within my function. Now this bit of code here looks very similar to the sort of thing that we were doing in video 3. For I in range 1 to n plus 1, if I times I %7 equals 1, print I times I. So this looks very similar to what we did when we were first looking at for loops. The only difference is that instead of having a number here, I've got this variable n plus 1. You might like to think about why it's n plus 1 rather than just n. And then the output of the function would look something like this: 1, 36 and 64. It's gone through and it's found all of the numbers which are square numbers which are one more than a multiple of 7. Let's have a look at that in the shell. So I need to start by defining my function. Def to define my function. And I need to give it its name, squares7one, because I'm looking for square numbers that are one more than a multiple of 7. And I need to tell it to expect to have one value, n, being inputted into it. Now, I want to go all the way up to and including n. So for I in range 1, n plus 1. And then I want to know if it is a square number which is one more than a multiple of 7. So, if I times I, when I divide by 7, is equal to 1, then I want it to print I times I. Now, in order to run this, I need to now say squares7one, which is the name of my function, and then say what I want it to go up to. So let's just go up to 20 this time. So it's gone all the way up to 20 and it's found all of the values, square numbers, from 1 squared up to 20 squared that are one more than a multiple of 7. We've already seen print in quite a few of the programs that we've written so far, so it seems like a good time to tell you a little bit about it. Print displays the value of a calculation onto the screen. It might seem a bit strange to call it print because it's not actually going to a printer, but it just means that it's printed to the screen. In the previous example, the program was printing square numbers on the screen. You'll also be using return instead of print to output information, and we're going to cover that in the next video. So in this video, you've learned how to write a simple function and how to use the print function to display the results of a program on the screen.